Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space, and a couple more Halloween cards for my 2023 Halloween series. I used some elements from the Simon Says Stamp limited edition Halloween kit. As of filming this intro, the kit is still available. And I had filmed an unboxing and made some cards using the stencil set from the kit. I will have a link to that at the end of this video. And then, like I always do, I'll have links to everything individually as well, because the kit will eventually sell out. But yeah, I used some ephemera, which for me is a big deal. I've made it very, very clear that whether it's Tim Holtz ephemera, that is the majority of my collection, but just ephemera in general, I am a professional curator and I collect it. But I used some. So I used ephemera. I pulled out a background stamp and did some like really mucky watercoloring and splattering. I pulled out my sewing machine, which is like right there. I haven't yet figured out a way I can film like actually, because I film straight down, so you can't see when I'm sewing. Not like it's anything special. I just did messy perimeter sewing. People have been asking me about that though. It's just a regular sewing machine. I was gonna say like there is no special sewing machine for paper crafting, but I think there was at one point. I don't know if it's still on the market. I think We Are Makers made one, and it was really cute. I'm pretty sure they did, but regardless, when it comes to like sewing on cards, a lot of people do it on scrapbook pages. That's where it like started. No special machine is needed. No special thread, anything. I just use regular old thread and I just sew. Like people that know sewing, like that understand machines, you would sometimes might need to adjust like your tension settings and things like that. Cause you know, in paper. And then the other thing is like real sewers, you know, people that sew on fabric and know how it is. You are also got to be aware that your needles will eventually like go really dull if you sew a lot on cards, because it's the same idea as like your good scissors for fabric. They're not allowed to touch paper. A lot of us understand that, you know, what happens when you take your mother's good sewing scissors and you're cutting up construction paper when you're a kid. Anyway, I have no idea who would do that. But yeah, I've never really had an issue. I can't say though how long like a needle lasts, anything, because I just got this machine recently. It's a Genome. I forget how you pronounce it. I always thought it was Genome. And then I was at a little sewing store and the owner pronounced it completely differently, and I was like, no idea. So anyway, it's just a little sew home something. It's just a little basic machine. Nothing fancy. That's all I've got. And it works. So yeah. Sewing on cards is fun. I'm slowly doing it a little bit more and just having fun with it. And that's the whole point. So yeah, if you guys keep watching, I will show you guys how I made these cards. Yeah, these cards were a lot of fun to make. So what I'm showing on screen right this moment, this is all in the kit. The stamp set, the ephemera, and the bat tag. Is that what it's called? Yeah, bat tag. And then I grabbed the Wonky Trapezoid background stamp. This was part of Simon's Stamp-Tember release at the beginning of September. It's part of their like main line, as is the other stamp set and the bat tag from the kit. That just goes into their main product line and will be restocked. It's just the kit itself that will not be when it sells out. So I've got this background, and I've used this on I used it in one of my Halloween live streams. So I got it face up on my work surface, and I have Distress HEAVYSTOCK. I just grabbed the cream HEAVYSTOCK this time instead of the white, just cause something different. So I've got the HEAVYSTOCK, and I cut just 2 A2 sized panels, and I inked up the Wonky Trapezoid background with clear embossing ink, and I had already used my anti-static embossing powder on anti-static powder tool on both of the pieces of HEAVYSTOCK, and then inked up the stamp, pressed it into the heavy stock, and then coated the stamped image with Simon's Detail White embossing powder and tapped off the excess. And then once I've got both of those covered in the embossing powder, I will melt these with my heat tool. And not going for perfection or anything like that, because that's also one of the perks of doing like sort of mixed media things and everything else. And also one of the reasons why I love making Halloween cards is you can be extra messy. And it's all just part of the process, and it's really fun. It is. It's really fun. So melted all of this with my heat tool, just tilted it back and forth in the light, making sure I got everything melted. But even if I didn't, not a big deal, because again, you get to be messy with it. So melted both of these backgrounds. And then I laid out my flour sack cloth because I was already planning to like just make a mess. So the flour sack cloth was just because I had, off the areas you can't see off screen, like basically all around the perimeter, I've got, cardstock and ephemera and all the things piled up everywhere. So the cloth just covers all that. It just covers all the things. So I don't have to worry about, wrecking absolutely everything. And then I have one of my little palettes, and I smushed on Crackling Campfire, Black Soot, and Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide inks, and then just added little blobs of water to them, grabbed a brush, and slapped that color on these backgrounds. And I mean that. Like, you can see what I'm doing. I am just sticking it on there. You could do ink smushing too. That would be fun. I just wanted to play with a paintbrush. Like, yeah, I am not being in any way particular about any of this. These colors, when they start mixing together, they start creating mud. I'm totally fine with that too. Because again, Halloween, it's just the messy is intentional and it's fun. And while everything is still wet, I'm splattering on all the colors, and they'll just mix and blend, and yeah, it's a fun time. And this is why you can see, like, my flower side cloth. I told you guys this one wasn't going to stay clean for long, just, yeah, it's fun. It's going to get all stained and inky, and that's the whole point of it all. So I somewhat dried these backgrounds with my heat tool, just because I wanted to add just more layers, like wet on wet blends for the most part. Just, it depends on all the things you're doing. Like, I still have quite a bit of the splatter that remained, and that's great. But by drying it, I could, layer up a little bit here and there, and yeah, just slapped on more color. Gonna add a little more splattery bits here and there, and just let it sort of let everything do its own thing. And because the background was heat embossed, so all those raised edges, they trap little cells you can see there. And in real life, it's kind of fun because every little section is different. So I did all of that, and then I used that bat tag and I die cut some black cardstock with it, and then set those aside. And then I grabbed just a big old scrap of just some smooth white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp this funky, like, kind of sign image from the stamp set that comes in the kit. And now I don't even remember what the actual name, Just Batty. That's what the name of the stamp set is. The Just Batty stamp set. So I'm going to stamp that with the Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide ink, and then flip that very wonky scrap around, stamp it a second time. And then I'm going to line up, there's several little sentiments in the set that fit in this little banner. So I lined up the trick or treat sentiment, and then I'm going to stamp that with VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink, although I could have stamped it in the black soot ink. It's just habit for me. It just occurred to me now. It was like, I stamp everything else with the oxide inks, but again, habit. So doesn't matter. And then I trim those out. And then by this point, my backgrounds were completely dry. And I trimmed off just kind of the top and bottom. So they end up being about 5¼ inches tall, roughly. The other size is kind of irrelevant. I just kind of trimmed off a little bit off one side, and then I'm going to tear these because mixed media, it just, I don't know. There's something bizarrely satisfying about like tearing cardstock and roughing things up. You guys have been seeing me do it more and more. I like it. And then I pulled out some Tim Holtz mummy cloth. Love this stuff. I have backups of it. cheesecloth is similar, but they are a different texture. Like cheesecloth is much finer than mummy cloth. Mummy cloth is more like linen in a sense. And it comes in like these strips, sort of like ribbon, which is fun. And then you can yank on it. You just pull on it and it starts, to unravel and come apart and gets all like wonky. And I love it. Again, another just bizarrely satisfying thing. You can also tint and stain this stuff with sprays and inks and all the things. But I just mucked with it, stuck it to my backgrounds, and then sewed it in place. And I went around, I think 2 or 3 times with my sewing machine and just black thread and just sewed. Just kind of went around the perimeter, purposely went wiggly with it so that everything is uneven. And the sewing is going to hold all of that mummy cloth in place, so I don't have to worry about adhesive or anything. Plus, it just adds that extra something. Like, the more comfortable I get using this little sewing machine, the more fun I have sewing on cards. So I just went around the perimeter. The only thing you got to kind of watch is sewing things like mummy cloth is there was a couple times I'd get it caught on the little, is it the foot? Is that what it's called? I always forget. But you just kind of got to pay attention and then it was good. So I did that to both of the backgrounds, just sewed the mummy cloth and sewed around the perimeter. And then I'm going to speed up quite a bit this whole part because I kind of off screen, I've got like the pile of ephemera because you get a whole pack in that kit of this Halloween ephemera and there's tons of it. And I kind of dug through and figured out what I wanted to add to this card and both of these cards, and also tried really hard not to overthink it. It was like, just do it. It's like, I'm pretty sure I have a backup pack of this stuff. Plus I have, previous ones I've purchased, etc., etc. And just use it. I'm speaking words of wisdom now that I'm like such an expert. I'm an expert mixed media artist. I do so much of this. Anyway, other thing I did, I grabbed my tiny attacher. This thing is, I have had mine for, I don't even know how many years. Must have tool. I rarely use it in card making, but I use it for like when I'm doing my taxes and I got bills to staple together, or just anything I need to staple together. That tiny attacher works like butter. It is a million times better than any other stapler I've used in my life. And they're tiny and they're so cute. I love my tiny attacher. Love it, love it, love it. And again, I think I've had mine for like a decade at least. The thing is solid. So anyway, all that to say, I use the tiny attacher to staple on just the little kind of lace ephemera along the bottom of the card fronts. And then I had taped the back of the bat tags with washi tape because the bat kind of icon at the top of the tag can pop right out. But I wanted to leave it in place. On the videos here, from what I can tell during editing, you can't even see it. But in real life, like, you can see it so it looks like it's inlaid. And I just liked it like that. And I popped the tags on with Simon's Big Mama foam tape. I like ripped up ephemera. I curled it up, all the things, and then adhered it with craft tacky glue. And I had fun doing that. Like, yes, I sped it up super fast in editing, but I genuinely enjoyed just mucking with it and ripping it and gluing it down. And once I was happy with it all, I made my card bases, which were Simon's burnt orange cardstock, and I scored them at 5.5. So these are going to be top folding A2 note cards, and I'm putting them in my Misty, and then I'm lining up these 2 sentiments from that Just Batty stamp set, and those I'm inking up with the Rustic Wilderness Oxide ink. Once those are stamped into place, I'm going to take the 3 bat images from the set, and I'm going to line those up, and those I stamp with the black soot ink because it was there, and just is what it is. So stamp those onto the insides of both of these cards. Once those are stamped into place, I'm going to adhere the card fronts with just craft tacky glue. So you just need a good strong adhesive. There's not a whole lot of dimension because of the sewing, but regardless, I like my craft tacky glue, good strong adhesive. So adhered all that into place. I was going to end here, but you guys know I need to add some bling. Like, I I can't not. So I pulled out the, this is the Orange Leaves confetti mix. This also came out at the beginning of the month in Simon's main release. And the colors were just, they're very fall, orange, perfect. And I just put them all over the place. You know, it just, you can't go wrong with a little bit of bling. Why not? So I kind of just made it look like almost like they were just dumped on top of these cards. Along with, you know, all the ephemera and everything else. But yeah, I was having fun with it. Legit. This was all a good time. So once I was happy with the placement, I adhered all of these into place with just little dabs of craft tacky glue, picking them up with my little embellishment wand, kind of tucking them underneath some of the little elements here and there too. Just, it gives it that little extra something. So once I get these adhered into place, these cards are complete. So like I mentioned in the intro, I will have the video I did unboxing this kit and making other cards, that will be linked at the end in the end screen. I will also have a link to my Halloween 2023 playlist. That will be linked at the end as well, so you can check that out if you are interested. And then of course below the video in the description box, I will have my supply list, links to all the supplies I used, a link to my blog post, my social media, all of that. All you need to do is expand the description box directly below the video for all of that info, and it will be there for you guys. And yeah, as always, thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping and commenting. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Bye.